Hello, Space Cadets. If you're watching this lecture, it means you are watching an advanced chess lesson. This means you have graduated to a high enough level of understanding that we can start giving you tougher chess lessons. So, here we go. You may have learned from your previous lessons that moving the same piece at the start of the game is a bad idea. We call this multi-moving. It's when you move the same piece multiple times or many times. So let's look at what it looks like when you move the same piece multiple times. So here we go. You'll notice that in this example, white brings their queen out early, which is not good. One of the reasons it's not good is because attacking the queen is very easy to do, and you'll force your opponent to make multiple moves with the queen. So far the queen has moved 2 times, but now that she is being attacked, she's going to have to move a 3rd time. So she goes this way. And then now she's attacked again, so she's going to have to move a 4th time. So the queen moves to A3 to get away from the pawn capture. And then a discovered attack happens, where the pawn on E7 moves out of the way, and then the bishop attacks the queen like this, see? So this can be distracting because if you were to say, take this pawn, you would lose your queen. And you don't want that to happen. So you have to move your queen again. And this was a poor location to move your queen. If you go here, there's a fork that happens, which is when one piece attacks 2 or more pieces. In this case, the pawn attacks the queen and the knight. And we can't take it because we would lose our queen. So some people might think, oh, moving the queen to this square was no good. Well, there's other problems. If I move here, this bishop comes to here and pins the queen to the king, and the bishop is defended. So our best move in this situation is to take the bishop, and then they take back. And this sets up a fork. So you can see this is really bad. We're really not happy here. If we were playing white, this would be very, very bad. So we can't really move there. If we move here, they could force us to move again anyway, in which case our choices are here or here again, and that's no good. The last one is we can go here, and that probably would have been the best move. But then we have other problems, like right here. There's a new fork threat, which is kind of a problem. So anyway, as you can see, the white queen doesn't really have a good spot. So moving here and having this happen is no good, but the queen pins the pawn, so the knight cannot be captured. But you'll notice this means the queen has moved again. Moving the queen too many times is a problem. So the bishop goes to H6, defended by the knight on G8, and it is attacking the queen. But this time the queen doesn't really have anywhere great it can move. For example, if it moves all the way over to here, because there's no bishop attacking the queen anymore, we would lose the bishop for free down here. So the queen can't move. Instead, we use a knight to block the attack of the bishop. And now that the knight is pinned to the queen, black has attacked it with a pawn. This is how you fight against pinned pieces. You pin them and then attack them with weaker pieces, and then you win points or win material. But anyway, the queen is clever. She retreats out of the way, so there's no pin on the queen, and attacks the knight. However, black just defends the knight, and we still have a pin on the knight against the bishop all the way down here on C1. So if you move the knight away, for example, to its only safe square, you would lose this bishop for free, and that would be very bad. But if you keep it there and say try to defend it, then you will lose a knight for a pawn, or we can trade off pieces like this. The other option could be you could take like this, and then he'll have to run away. So either way, this is what it looks like when you have to move the same thing too many times. A lot of times when you move the queen out too early and you move her a whole bunch, you lose the queen. Other times you move the queen out a whole lot and then you end up losing other pieces instead. So moving the same thing over and over is no good. Okay. Here's another example of when the queen moves too much. And then we're going to do the other pieces after that. So here we go. So this queen comes out. This move is actually okay. There's an opening in chess called the Scandinavian. And this is move 2 where you bring your queen out. And if you know what you're doing, you can bring your queen out and put her over here on a5, and then she won't have to move anymore. So every rule has an exception. So in this situation, even though white has moved their queen twice, even though black has moved their queen twice, this is okay. So you'll notice that white has 2 pieces developed. Black currently only has 1, and now black has 2. So since the development is fairly equal for both sides, this is okay. And you'll notice that white does not really have a good way to attack black's queen. That's why a5 is a good square for it. So we attack the bishop captures, and now we have this queen threatening to take this pawn and then the rook. There's also a checkmate threat right here too, if black is not careful. So black stops all of that, which is very good. We pin the knight here, and then this queen has moved a 3rd time. So far this queen has done this, and that's probably okay. The problem was if black just went like this and didn't move their queen there, this would happen. So it's check, and if you take, then it's check again, and then the rook is in trouble, and then you lose the rook with check, and now your king, if you're playing black, is stuck in the middle of the board. So this is really bad. So that's what black was trying to avoid. They're basically going here, they're going here to add a 2nd defender. So if this happens, you'll notice the queen cannot take because the black queen is watching the square. So that is why they moved their queen a 3rd time. However, here comes the problem. Whenever you bring your queen out, and if you move it too much, or any piece really, you have trouble. So right here, the queen is under attack. Now you'll notice this knight is defending the bishop, but when it moves here, it is no longer defending the bishop. So if the queen were to take the bishop, you might feel good about that initially. However, we have this crazy fork here, which attacks the king, the rook, and the queen. So basically black would lose their queen. They took a bishop, but they lost a pawn and a queen. That would be very bad for black. So black cannot take the bishop. Instead, black moves back to a5. That's the 4th queen move. And then b4. You'll notice that the b pawn is defended by the knight. So every square that the queen can move to is attacked by something. So for example, like this, you see? There's only one square the queen can move to that is not attacked, and that's right here. So we already know what's going to happen. They're going to lose their queen, but moving there was better than losing your queen for nothing. That's why black did it. But black is in big, big trouble here. So that's a 2nd example for what happens when you move your queen too much. Let's move on to a new example where the knight moves too much. And this one is a very short example, but watch what happens. So right here, this is called Alekine's defense. You attack the e-pawn with your knight. This is an okay opening, but this is the wrong move. Typically, you move right here, and they'll attack you again, and you'll run away, and then you do this. And now you don't have to move the knight anymore, and this pawn is a little too far for white to do much with. So what happens is we usually have something like this, and then everyone's happy. So while white or black did move their knight 3 times, you'll notice that white hasn't really gotten any development in all the time that black was moving pieces around. So this is okay. However, they go right here. E4 is a different story. So we've moved the knight 2 times, but then this happens. The pawn attacks the knight runs away, the pawn attacks the knight again, and if the knight were to go right here, this knight is actually trapped. You'll notice that all of the squares that the knight can move to are attacked by something. So here's the red arrows to show you all the squares that are attacked and how. So some of this is going to be kind of interesting. Or not there. Whoops. Right here. And then we have bishop attacking here, and the bishop attacks all the way over here. So you can count the red arrows. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 red arrows. How many green arrows do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So because we have 8 red arrows and 8 green arrows, it means this knight is trapped no matter what. When a piece is trapped, you attack it with a low value piece. And here's why. Let's say I attack it with this bishop. Okay? Well, the pawn goes and defends the knight. So if I were to take the knight, it would just be a trade, right? Both sides would get 3 points. So we wouldn't win the knight for free. However, if we attack it with this pawn and they try to defend it, we have now won a knight for a pawn, which means we've won 3 points but only gave up 1 point. This would be very good for white if that were to happen. So as you can see, this knight e4 move is not so good. So to be safe, they went all the way to the edge. And as you learn in chess, attacking the middle is really important, especially at the beginning of a chess game. But moving your knight all the way to the edge is not attacking the middle. You'll see, here's the middle squares, and the knight falls short of being able to attack this square right here. So, anyway, this is a good example of what can happen when your knight moves too many times. You don't always lose pieces when you move the same piece many times. What often happens is you have to put your piece in a really annoying or bad spot in order to keep it safe, and that's also not good.